Chaile time. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Chaile Time.
Nice.
Toby, welcome. How are you? How you've been?
I'm very well. Yourself? Listen, man, I like your glasses. What's happening?
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real.
You know, last time we were in a meeting somewhere there in the Pretoria North. I couldn't see anything on the presentation. Then I took a conscious decision to say, you know what?
Yeah, I remember I was still on the board and whatever, and you didn't say a word. Eventually I asked you afterwards, why didn't you say anything? You couldn't see.
Yeah, so this is the new me.
Yeah, so what you been up to?
Hey. Okay, I'm doing hearings, dealing with a lot of stuff they are doing as they please at most of our retail clients. Yeah, one of the stores I went there and you remember a few years ago we had a client in the Eastern Cape, ne?
Oh,
And then there was an issue of staff purchasing Russians at the wrong price, and then everyone in the store bought it.
Yeah, it seems like a common thing in that kind of business.
Yeah, so the same thing happened now. There was a special for Coca-Cola in one of our clients at the wrong price, and the supervisor was instructed to double check if the price is correct. But before she could do that, she started ringing up for everyone and buying it.
Similar kind of business. We just did a hearing, I think like a week or so ago, where this staff member, she works in the butchery and was selling meat or pap or whatever for a client.
Yeah, meaty bones.
Meaty bones. But what she does is, instead of weighing it, the actual food, she will weigh items laying on the table like pens or spoons or whatever. So put it on the scale, get a cheap price, and put that on the expensive food.
Yeah, I saw that because
It's actually on video. And you know what is concerning? The staff around it, they don't blink. Nobody's like, hey, what you doing? And it is so obvious. It's so visible. Everybody just carry on as if there's nothing out of place there.
Yeah, I saw the price was supposed to be 533, but the person was only charged 43.99.
Yeah, I know you're involved there too.
Yeah,
but
so these are the kind of things I've been dealing with. So,
yeah, it's amazing, yeah. Anyway, so
from your side, what's happening?
Man, this last couple of days, I had a bit of a knot in my stomach. I was fighting with a client of ours. Look, one of our clients, as you know, cancelled their service agreement with us. We've been with them for 2 years now. And you know what, sometimes now it's quite challenging for me is that it feels like your relationship with some companies can be very transactional. Almost like a Donald Trump style of kind of relationship where you lose one case, that's the end of our relationship. We've been with him for 2 years. We had so many cases. We haven't lost a single one. But now the thing here is this business is owned by, I think, people from Turkey or Syria or something like that. So they don't understand our laws. Okay? And for them it is you lose one case, we no longer have a service level agreement with you. And unfortunately, or I don't know, that's how we do things. We don't really enter into long-term contracts. We do indefinite month-to-month service level agreements, so any party can cancel by giving 1 month notice. But the problem here, Tsepona, is that, this, and the reason why they have to pay an award is because of their own stupidity. So they refused to pay us. So I sent them a very nice letter of demand, and within 5 minutes they paid us because I told them what Allah's going to do to them. I shouldn't have said that, but my apologies. I just tried to be insensitive there.
Yeah.
But the reality of the matter is, and then we had the discussion. Then he said to me, but it's as if I'm not saying it's his fault. So I told him straight, it was your fault. I didn't use the word stupidity, but I used a nicer word because that is what it was. So what happened here is, as you know, the employee was unfairly suspended by them. You know what? People don't always phone you first and ask,
Yeah.
what must I do? They just do.
They do.
They just do. So they just chase the guy away. It was a suspension, okay? And it was an unpaid suspension. So he filed an unfair labor practice suspension dispute, obviously, okay, at the CCMA. So you then try to engage with him and the employer. The employer said, okay, we'll pay him his salary, which was something like 15,000 rand. But then he must obviously withdraw the case. And we phoned, and he agreed. He will withdraw the case if we pay him the 15,000 rand. So then we told him, go and withdraw the case and fill in the form, the withdrawal notice. And the employee agreed he will do it. But then the employer said, no, you're going to pay him so long. And we said, don't pay until the withdrawal notice was signed. No. He wants to get this matter dealt with immediately and finalize the matter. And we said, don't do it. Even on black and white on WhatsApp, don't pay him. He paid him. So what did the employee do? He didn't go withdraw the case. He continued. And then he won the underlying case anyway, because they did unfairly suspend him. So now they had to pay another 34,000 and he must come back to work, obviously. Now, yes, it was quite a thing. For a whole week, we engaged in consultations. Eventually, the employee agreed that he will not will come back to work, but the employer agreed to pay him the additional 34,000 rand. And once again, I drew up a settlement agreement, and I sent it to the parties, and the employee agreed to the terms of the settlement agreement, but he said, I'm not going to sign it until the employer pay me first. So I told the employer, don't pay first until he sign it. No. He wants to finalize this matter, and he paid again.
So did the employee sign?
Yes, he did. But then I got a WhatsApp, no, we are now, it's our fault, so they dismiss us as a service provider now. I was so upset. So when he phoned me yesterday, I said to him, it's because of your own I can't remember the word I used, but it was something like your stupidity. We told you, don't pay. The whole case would have been gone if you have listened to us. Now it's us. Huh? But now the thing is, they've got a lot of cases coming. I don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to do those cases? Huh? This is where they say you spot what? You cut your nose, you spot your face. Yeah. Penny wise and pound foolish. You only look at the 40,000 rand you have to pay now. There's a lot coming.
you don't look at the future, which can end up costing you 500,000 rand or something.
Yeah, like Kate, man.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
There's an Afrikaans saying, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say this. Nie my hol, nie my drol. Yeah. Ask ChatGPT what it means. You can see I'm upset today because of what happened. I had a difficult week.
Excuse me.
Yeah, anyway, so okay, it wasn't all bad. We had some good victories also.
Okay, I'm running on the victory lap.
Yeah, look, today it's about condemnation applications. Straightforward. We're teaching our audience what are the key elements to a condemnation application, what it is, why it's important. And I went through a very interesting condemnation application where I opposed the condemnation application. Look, there's a lot of entertainment value in this process here. We're going to go for it. It's quite cool. But just quickly, a condemnation application, what is it? So in terms of legislation, let's use the Labour Relations Act as an example. If you want to file a dispute to the CCMA, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, there are timelines involved. Yeah. So if you complain about the fairness of a dismissal, typically an employee's got 30 days after the dismissal to file a dispute at the CCMA, or if it's an unfair labor practice, you have 90 days. Even the courts, if you want to apply for a review application, it's typically 6 weeks, so there are timelines attached to certain kinds of disputes. But now sometimes you're late. And then you need to apply for condemnation with your application form for the dispute. And basically it is for the commissioner or the judge to condone your lateness. But it is not just an email that you send. There are certain elements that you have to argue in terms of your condemnation application. So the first element is you must obviously explain the degree of lateness. So how many days are you late? Is it 1, 2, or 10 days, or whatever the case may be? And then secondly, obviously your reason for lateness. So you need to have a good reason why you were late, okay? And thirdly, very importantly, your actual prospects of success. So your underlying merits of, do you believe you will have a successful case? As an example, if you challenge the fairness of a dismissal, I suppose in a way there's no point in trying to apply for condemnation, if you have no merits. And then obviously the prejudice to both parties, sometimes to enroll a case after it's been late for a substantial period of time, it can be prejudicial to another opposing party. And, that is a consideration for the commissioner to make up his mind whether he's going to condone the application or not. But anyway, so in this case now, it's quite okay, so we receive an SMS that there's a case at the CCMA. It's an in limine case. Yes. But we don't really know what it's about, okay? So I know out of experience that mostly an in limine case will probably be relating to a condemnation application because parties were late. And we could see that it relates to a Section 189 retrenchment process. And then this client is just like, my goodness, okay? There was a case 5 years ago. There was retrenchment 5 years ago. To be exact, 4 years and 8 months ago. So maybe it's this, but we're not so sure. Okay, so I pitched. But we didn't receive the SEDA notice. We didn't receive the actual condemnation application. We received nothing. So I pitched up this, Mr. Commissioner, this is the situation. There was a union, quite a well-known union in South Africa with like 13 of their members behind them. I think ultimately it was for like 25 members, And there we sat, and I just said, Mr. Commissioner, we've not had no sight of the condemnation application, not even the SEDA notice. Here we are. And then I was thinking that, maybe the reason being is because when they showed me the application, this is like thick bundle. Josh, that's a big one, eh? And so I said, okay, maybe it is because of the CCMA server or the employer, not the CCMA, the employer server. Some servers, they block documents where the file size is above a certain limit.
It's too big. It's too big. Yeah.
Then you typically upload it to a cloud and you send the link. Then other party can download it, So I thought to myself, maybe that's the reason. But later when we investigated, we saw that in the email address, they actually misspelled the email address. There were two... O and I that was swapped around, so we actually never received it. So, all the surprising, the union was friendly. Oh my goodness, I was just like, they were like so friendly. So I asked, can we perhaps postpone so I can go through this, The union is like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, really?
That's new?
That's new, okay. Daar's 'n slang in die gras. But anyway, so the commissioner gave me the condemnation application and then said, listen, giving us like the weekend to file opposing papers, another 2-3 days for the other party to file responding documents if they want to. And then a couple of days later, he will give us the ruling. So he will decide on the papers. We don't have to come in again. So on my way out, there's a little coffee shop there. This is a CCMA Pretoria. There's a little coffee shop there, and I couldn't get to my car. I was just like, I have to read this document to see what's going on in here. And I start reading. There's other people sitting around me too. So I start reading. And Tsepo, the condemnation application is 4 years and 8 months late. I start reading. Okay, so at that time, there was a Section 189A retrenchment process. It's a large-scale retrenchment process. Ultimately, 116 staff were retrenched. The process was facilitated by a CCMA commissioner, but they didn't apply for facilitation at the CCMA. This person just happened to be a commissioner at the CCMA. Okay. So while the facilitation process was still going on, this union, for some reason, filed an unfair dismissal dispute so long at the CCMA. And then conciliation, the matter went for conciliation, and because it was prematurely filed, there was nothing in it. Nothing came from the conciliation. I mean, you can't sue somebody for a crime if you didn't do it yet. Maybe AI will be able to predict future crimes, and then we can do it. I don't know. But we're not there yet. Okay. So anyway, nothing came from it. Then just after the dismissal, the union filed a dispute at the Labour Court, because Section 191 basically states that if an employer employs more than 10 people, retrench more than one, then the CCMA don't typically have jurisdiction to arbitrate. But also, Section 189A, capital A, states that if the CCMA appoints a facilitator, okay, then when the employer, if the employer retrenches people after a period of 60 days, then basically the union's got the choice. They can either go on a strike or they can file a dispute at the Labour Court, but they can't file it against procedure, okay? Yes. And then the section provides that if a facilitator was not appointed, then after about 30 days, the parties can then follow, or the union can then follow the normal CCMA application process. And ultimately the case will then end up in the Labour Court. So in this case now, so after about 2 years, they filed a Labour Court, the case at the Labour Court, and about a period of 2 years went by where nothing happened. So after 2 years, now the one official started following up with another official who's apparently in charge of Labour Court matters. And he said, no, you'll go to the CC, or to the Labour Court and ask, to get a status update as to where the case is, whatever, And apparently they gave him the typical jargon of, there's a backlog, it will take a bit of time still. And so time goes by. Ultimately 4 years and 8 months. But now in this document, it's all the WhatsApp messages going back and forth. Listen, can you at least just please give us the case number, because you get the case number right in the beginning already. And the guy will say, listen, I'm just busy here at the company,
So he was stalling somehow.
Yeah, you get the impression he was stalling now, When he's back in the office, he will give it to you, and then a couple of days later, listen, where is the reference number? Oh, no, I'm just here now. I'm going to WhatsApp it to you now. I'll find it for you now and send it to you. Or after a couple of days, listen, so it went on for years. Please give us the case reference number. And eventually he stopped answering their questions, and so they escalated to more senior management. But even the HOD, they
couldn't help.
Well, it's not that he couldn't help it, it's just he refused to answer. He also kept quiet. He just didn't engage with the people whatsoever,
So how did the case go back now to the CCMA?
So now it's my experience. I'm sitting there, it's like 7 alarm. It's a soapy. You're sitting there and it's like you're biting, I just needed popcorn. I was just like, so what happened is all this infighting in the union, this one accusing that one and that one. And what's quite amazing is how they've put all of that into the condemnation application. Interesting. And I was just like, no way. But I'm like, in my heart started pounding. It's like, so what happened here? Eventually I read that the case was never filed at the Labour Court. And I was just laughing. I burst out laughing. Everybody there in the restaurant, coffee shop was just looking at me. I was just laughing. No wonder they were so friendly this morning. So obviously what they were trying to do is, they want to go to the Labour Court, but they need to start at the CCMA. So they just wanted the CCMA to condone the lateness so that we can go for conciliation, don't settle, and then they can properly file at the Labour Court. That was the plan. So we obviously opposed the condemnation application.
And backfired.
Yeah, well, look, if you look at, from a degree of lateness, 4 years and 8 months. The reason for lateness is because of our own negligence and incompetence, and we're fighting each other. That's basically what it is. But if you look at prospects of success, they didn't have prospects of success. The company did a good job, man. They were a proper consultation process for 60 days. And not everybody who was retrenched, they did manage to find ways to minimize the amount of retrenchments. It was properly facilitated by a professional who happens to be a CCMA commissioner. The union was fully engaged, involved, so. And look, this is a business in the hospitality industry, and that was at the heart of COVID. That industry for all
Yeah,
practical purposes, was
hit
probably
bad.
shut down, So, yeah, so there was good prospects of success for the employer in this case. But anyway, so eventually the commissioner's ruling came out, and I want to focus on some of the points here that will help us to understand how a judge at the court or a commissioner at the CCMA, how they approach condemnation applications. Because this commission obviously refers to other case laws that will assist us, And it comes down to there's no one element that's decisive on its own. There's a holistic approach. There's a couple of questions to answer. And it's basically got to deal with the reason for lateness and your prospects of success. You can have good prospects, but if you are too late, then it's not going to help you. If you don't have good prospects, but you're not so much late, then that can be fine, Also, to what extent can you blame your lawyer or your union for their incompetence and their negligence, If it is a lengthy period of time that you are late because of their incompetence, then you shouldn't cry at the CCMA, So we'll be looking at some of those cases quickly here. But let's just dissect quickly what the commissioner is saying here. Okay, so this matter was set down for an in limine hearing on the 9th of October at the Tshwane offices of the CCMA. The applicants, on behalf of 61 employees, sorry, not 20, filed the dispute referral on the 16th of September for a dismissal which occurred on 31st January 2021. The referral was late and it was accompanied by a condemnation application. Then it just go, we as the respondents, we didn't receive the set down notice and application, so they're giving us a few days and you'll decide on paper. Okay, the degree of lateness and the reason for lateness. The applicants submit that their referral is 4 years and 8 months late. They explain this lateness by saying they were dismissed at work on the 31st of January 2021. Before they were dismissed, they had erroneously and prematurely referred the dismissal dispute to the CCMA on the 27th of November 2020, which was conciliated on the 7th of January 2021. This caused the employees and the union to assume that the matter was to be referred to the Labour Court, whereas the matter was supposed to be referred to the CCMA before being referred to the Labour Court. There was also confusion on whether the matter should be referred to the CCMA in view of the referral, which was already made in November. The employees had been placed on a layoff in 2020 since the advent of the COVID-19, which subsequently resulted in the respondent embarking on the retrenchment process in terms of Section 189A. So before the retrenchments, there was also a layoff.
Yes.
So they didn't just jump straight to a Section 189 process. At the conclusion of that process, the respondent dismissed the employees on the 31st of January 2021. But you see here, they referred the dispute on the 27th of November already. The people were only dismissed a couple of months later, on the 31st of January.
31st of Jan, the
2 months later, The employees had been, the file of the employees was handled by a certain person who was supposed to refer the matter to the Labour Court, as they were under the impression that the matter was already conciliated at the CCMA. This person consulted with the employees and promised to refer the matter to the Labour Court within 90 days from the date of the certificate. There was no certificate of outcome issued, probably because the employees were not yet dismissed. At the time, the matter was conciliated and the dispute was referred prematurely. After the dismissal, the dispute was not referred to the CCMA, as they laboured under the mistaken impression that there was no need to refer the matter to the CCMA, as the process of consultation was facilitated and there was a referral which was already filed. The one shop steward followed up with the other gentleman on the progress of the matter in September 2021. He was informed that there was a backlog at the Labour Court and he would inform him of any progress once advised by the Labour Court. In February 2020, inquired from the person about progress and he was informed that he would revert to him. And so it just goes on back and forth. Yeah, I promise I will send you the status update and the reference number and so on and so forth. On the 8th of April this year, he escalated the matter to his senior, who also ignored him. Thereafter, the matter was escalated to the Deputy Secretary General, who arranged a meeting with him. The complaint was investigated, as well as the progress of the matter at the Labour Court. It turned out the matter was not referred to the Labour Court. The matter fell through the cracks as a result of lack of knowledge by the union official. Union officials were given final written warnings valid for 12 months. Arrangements were made to file a referral form with the CCMA accompanied by this condemnation application. That's the background. So that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. On the prospects of success, the applicant submitted the respondent failed to properly comply with the prescripts of Section 189.3. They failed to disclose in writing alternatives that were considered, which is not really true from our side. I mean, there were alternatives. There were VSPs offered. There were layoffs, So look, they don't really have a strong case, to be honest with you. They are just giving some jargon here. Okay, then prejudice. The applicant submitted that they will suffer prejudice if the condemnation is not granted because they would not get an opportunity to present their case. But you know what, really? They were the masters of their own fate here. Okay, so I'm not going to go through our case, but then what did the commissioner say? So I'm just going to highlight a few case laws that he referred to with some main arguments here. The one is a commissioner's starting off point or the point of departure in Milani versus Santam Insurance. It was held that the factors that should be considered in an application for condemnation are interrelated and not individually decisive. So it's not only about one specific element, you have to look at all the elements holistically. The weight to be attached to any of these factors may vary from case to case. What is needed is an objective conspectus of all the facts. A slight delay and a good explanation may help to compensate for prospects of success that are not strong. So if you're only delayed by or late by a few days, but you have a very good reason, if you don't have strong merits of the case, it could help. Or the importance of the issue and strong prospects of success may tend to compensate for a long delay. You see, so this is how it interchanges with one another. Then let's go to NUMSA on behalf of members versus SAA Technical. The applicants correctly pointed out that there has been a controversy on the proper interpretation of Section 191.11 of the LRA regarding whether dispute must be referred to the CCMA or the Labour Court after the conclusion of the facilitation process. So after facilitation, must you go directly to the Labour Court or must you first go to the CCMA? So apparently there's a bit of a confusion here. So in this case, it was confirmed that the referral for conciliation is indispensable and that it is a precondition to the Labour Court's jurisdiction over unfair dismissal disputes. So even though this case ultimately will be adjudicated by the Labour Court, you still start off at the CCMA. Okay, the main reason for the delay in this case now was simply the negligence of the union officials who handled the dispute before the union's head office became involved. The delay is so excessive that the applicants cannot be absolved by the union officials' negligence. In Sokeria versus SSH Design, the Labour Court dealt with an application for condemnation for the late referral of a claim in terms of Section 191.5b11 in relation to the applicant's dismissal in terms of Section 189a, also a large-scale retrenchment process. The court held that there is a limit beyond which a litigant cannot escape the results of an attorney's lack of diligence or negligence. So there's limits to what extent a commissioner will condone lateness because of the negligence of your representation.
Yeah.
Further to that, there is a period of about 2 years in this case now for which there is no explanation supplied by the applicants. Between February 2022 and 6 March 2024, there is no explanation given by the applicants for the delay. It is tried that every period of lateness must be explained. In eThekwini Municipality and in Gonyama Trust, the Constitutional Court stated that an applicant for condemnation must give full explanation for the delay. The explanation must cover the entire period of delay and the delay must be reasonable. Okay. In NUM versus Council for Mineral Technology, the court held that without an acceptable and reasonable explanation for the delay, the prospects of success are immaterial, and without prospects of success, no matter how good the explanation for the delay, the application for condemnation should be refused. And then, here's a nice one. On the prospects of success, the parties submitted regarding the substantive and procedural fairness of the dismissals, affirmance that are mutually exclusive. However, the immediate difficulty faced by the applicants is the fact that their claim has prescribed. In terms of the Prescription Act, Act 68 of 1969, because the applicants referred the dispute 3 years after they were dismissed. In FAO, on behalf of Gosh Belway versus Pyman's Pantry, the Constitutional Court held that the Prescription Act is compatible with the LRA and that an alleged unfair dismissal is a debt as contemplated by the Prescription Act. The applicant's claim has prescribed and therefore they have no reasonable prospects of success in the matter. So the Prescription Act basically provides that you have 3 years to claim a debt. If somebody owes you money, okay, you can't wait forever, you have 3 years. So the Constitutional Court here found that an unfair dismissal dispute is also a debt in terms of the Prescription Act, and therefore after 3 years your claim prescribed.
Yeah, no, we're learning a lot.
Yeah, we're learning a lot. It's the first time ever that I've dealt with a case that was so excessively late and out of time. So obviously condemnation was not granted. So it's a bit of a victory there. We can close this chapter, which was good. But anyway, so not all bad this week. We have another case where we applied for a postponement, which was granted. The union also not happy that we were successful there. So I think the week is ending on a good note.
On a high note.
On a high note, yeah.
That's good. Any job reviews this week?
Yeah, so let's just stay. Job review. Every week we place fresh vacancies that we find in our network. So stay on for a job review. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Cheers. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, everyone. Let's have a look at some of the vacancies posted nationwide on our Harmony People's Network this week. First up, Octogen is looking for a HR and training manager to lead the full spectrum of human resources and training functions across the organization. Digital Surveying seeks a field technician to operate and maintain downhole formation and borehole evaluation equipment and perform well site operations. Conroe Precision has a vacant position for a junior financial accountant. And last but not least, WDB Trust has an opening for a legal and compliance officer. For the full information of the mentioned positions, how to apply, as well as more available positions, find the vacancy link in the description. You will also find a link to a useful video on how to compose a winning CV and have a successful interview. Tune in again next week for more Harmony vacancies.